Did you know some of the world's most famous cities are literally sinking? Not a metaphor. These places are actually going underwater. It sounds like a disaster movie, but for millions, it's a terrifying reality. From tourist hotspots to megacities, the ground is vanishing beneath their feet, sometimes by inches or even feet every year. In this video, we'll explore 7 cities that are sinking, why it's happening, and what can be done. This is one of the wildest environmental challenges on Earth. Let's dive in. These are 7 places that are sinking. First up, Jakarta, Indonesia. A sprawling metropolis teeming with life and energy. But beneath the surface of this vibrant city lies a troubling reality. It's the world's fastest sinking city. In some of the most affected areas, the ground is dropping by up to 10 inches a year. That's a significant and alarming rate of subsidence. The main culprit behind this rapid sinking? Unsustainable groundwater extraction. With an aging and unreliable piped water infrastructure, many residents and businesses are left with few alternatives. Consequently, millions upon millions are forced to pump water directly from underground aquifers. This relentless extraction is causing the land to compact and collapse, leading to widespread subsidence. Imagine a city precariously sitting on a giant water balloon. Now imagine everyone's poking straws into that balloon, relentlessly sucking the water out. The ground shrinks and sinks as the water disappears. And to make matters worse, the immense weight of skyscrapers, roads, and other infrastructure only exacerbates the problem. The result of this environmental crisis? We're seeing entire neighborhoods where the first floors of buildings are permanently underwater. Roads are constantly flooded, even during normal high-tide events. In a desperate attempt to hold back the sea, the government is investing heavily in building massive seawalls. They're even going so far as to plan a complete relocation of the capital to the island of Borneo. A truly drastic and unprecedented move, signaling the severity of the situation. But for the residents of North Jakarta, this isn't some distant threat. The crisis is happening right now, in their daily lives. Makeshift barriers constructed from whatever materials are available, and raised wooden walkways have become essential daily survival tools, allowing people to navigate their flooded neighborhoods. Jakarta is a megacity teetering on the brink, facing a very real risk of being largely underwater within just a few decades. The central question remains, how do you effectively save a city of 10 million people from literally sinking into the sea? Jakarta's story serves as a stark and urgent warning for coastal cities all over the world. The sheer scale of the problem is almost too hard to fully comprehend. This isn't some hypothetical future scenario, it's a crisis unfolding right now as we speak. The fate of this megacity hangs precariously in the balance, and the entire world is watching with bated breath. Will Jakarta find a way to survive this existential threat, or will it become the first major megacity lost to the relentless advance of the sea? The race against time is most definitely on. Now let's take a look at what other cities around the globe are facing similar potentially devastating threats. Next, we journey to Venice, Italy, a city steeped in history and renowned for its unique beauty. It's the city of canals and gondolas, a place where water defines every aspect of life. But this enchanting city is now fighting for its life against a relentless foe, the rising sea. Built on soft mud and sand, a precarious foundation from the start, Venice has always sunk slowly, a gradual descent measured over centuries. But rising sea levels, driven by climate change, are accelerating the process, making things much, much worse. High tides, known locally as Acqua Alta, now flood St. Mark's Square, the heart of Venice, dozens of times a year, disrupting daily life and tourism. Saltwater relentlessly damages ancient buildings, seeping into the very fabric of the city. It's eroding centuries-old brick and stone, weakening the structures that have stood for generations. The Italian government's ambitious answer is MOSE, a system of giant, retractable floodgates designed to block high tides and protect the lagoon. It's a marvel of modern engineering, a testament to human ingenuity, but it's also incredibly expensive, plagued by delays and ultimately only a temporary fix. MOSE, for all its grandeur, can't stop the sea from rising forever. It's a battle against an unstoppable force. Venice's immediate future depends on these barriers and their effectiveness in the face of increasingly severe weather. But the critical question remains, how long can they hold back the inevitable? The very soul of this unique city is at stake, its cultural heritage hanging in the balance. Losing Venice, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, would be a profound loss, a tragedy for all humanity. Every flood leaves more damage in its wake, a constant assault on the city's infrastructure and artistic treasures. It's threatening priceless art and irreplaceable historical monuments, the legacy of generations past. The battle here is a complex one, waged against nature's forces, the relentless passage of time, and the escalating threat of climate change. Venice stands as a stark symbol of what's at risk as our world changes, a canary in the coal mine for coastal communities everywhere. The central question that hangs in the air: can we, as a global community, find a way to save this floating masterpiece before it's too late? The fight for Venice is ongoing, a constant struggle against the encroaching sea. But the threat is relentless, demanding constant vigilance and innovative solutions. Venice's fate serves as a stark warning to all coastal cities facing similar challenges around the world. Will the city of canals, a jewel of human civilization, ultimately become a city lost forever to the sea's embrace? Only time and decisive collective action will ultimately tell the tale of Venice's survival. Now let's move on to the next city on our list, another urban center grappling with the impacts of a changing climate. Now we turn our attention to New Orleans, Louisiana, a city steeped in history and culture, a place unlike any other in the United States, a city famous for its vibrant music scene, a melting pot of sounds and rhythms that echo through its historic streets, and of course its unforgettable food. A culinary adventure awaits around every corner, from beignets to gumbo. New Orleans is also known for its resilience, the unwavering spirit of its people in the face of adversity. But beneath the surface of this vibrant city lies a troubling reality: sinking land. Built on the Mississippi River Delta, a landscape constantly shaped by the flow of water and sediment. New Orleans sits on soft, compacting soil, a foundation that is naturally prone to sinking over time. Levees built to control flooding, a necessary defense against the mighty Mississippi. But these very levees stopped the river from depositing new sediment, the lifeblood that once replenished the land. So the land keeps sinking, slowly but surely, year after year. Decades of draining swampy soil, a practice that seemed beneficial at the time. But this drainage for development only made things worse, accelerating the sinking process, causing the ground to shrink, losing its volume and its ability to support the city above. The result: much of the city is now below sea level, a precarious situation that demands constant vigilance. Relying on massive levees and pumps to stay dry, a complex and expensive system that must function flawlessly. Hurricane Katrina exposed the city's vulnerability, revealing the fragility of its defenses. When levees broke, the consequences were catastrophic. Water rushed in with devastating force, flooding entire neighborhoods, leaving a scar on the city that remains visible to this day. Today, New Orleans is a patchwork of elevations, a stark reminder of the uneven sinking across the city, with many areas several feet below sea level, constantly at risk of flooding. The city's survival depends on constant, expensive engineering, a continuous effort to hold back the water. Levees, floodwalls and pumps, the essential infrastructure that keeps the city afloat. Coastal restoration and better water management are ongoing, crucial efforts to rebuild the natural defenses. These projects are ongoing, a race against time to protect the city from the encroaching sea. But the land keeps sinking, and sea levels keep rising, a double threat that intensifies the challenge. The lower Ninth Ward still shows scars from Katrina, a poignant reminder of the storm's devastating impact. But also new flood protection systems, a symbol of hope and resilience in the face of adversity. New Orleans is a testament to human resilience, the unwavering determination to rebuild and thrive, but also a warning, a cautionary tale about the consequences of environmental change. Living in a sunken city means fighting a never-ending battle against water, a constant struggle to maintain the balance. The city's future is uncertain, clouded by the challenges of climate change and land subsidence. But its spirit endures, a beacon of hope that shines brightly even in the darkest of times. The challenge: can New Orleans stay above water as the world changes? A question that hangs heavy in the air. The answer will shape the city's destiny, determining whether it can continue to thrive in the face of adversity. Let's see how other cities are coping with similar threats, learning from their experiences and innovations. Next stop, Bangkok. Welcome to Bangkok, Thailand, a megacity sinking under its own weight. Built on soft clay just above sea level, Bangkok's rapid growth led to massive groundwater pumping, causing the ground to subside. The government cracked down on pumping, slowing the sinking, but the city's sheer weight keeps pressing the ground down. Skyscrapers and urban sprawl act like a bowling ball on a mattress, compressing the clay below. The result: cracked buildings, buckled sidewalks, and frequent flooding during the rainy season. The drainage system struggles to keep up, and rising sea levels in the Gulf of Thailand add to the threat. Projections show parts of Bangkok could be below sea level within 20 years if drastic action isn't taken. The government is building flood barriers and exploring green infrastructure, like rainwater parks, to fight flooding. But protecting a city of over 10 million is a monumental task. Bangkok is racing to adapt before it's too late. The city's future depends on innovation and resilience. Will Bangkok become the next Venice of the East lost to water? The challenge is immense, but the fight continues. Let's head to a city with an even more dramatic story, Mexico City. Stay tuned. Mexico City, hundreds of miles from the ocean, yet sinking faster than almost anywhere on Earth. Some areas drop by up to 20 inches a year. The reason? The city is built on a drained lake bed, with soft waterlogged clay beneath. For centuries, residents have pumped water from the aquifer below, causing the ground to compact and sink. The effects are everywhere: tilting buildings, cracked streets, and sunken cathedrals. The Metropolitan Cathedral needed major engineering to keep it from collapsing. Some buildings' ground floors are now below street level. Infrastructure suffers. Water mains and sewers break as the ground shifts. Differential sinking puts stress on everything: roads, subways, homes. The city is in constant repair mode, patching up the damage. Solutions like importing water and rainwater harvesting are expensive and complex. The city's thirst for water is literally making it disappear. Mexico City is a lesson in unintended consequences. Centuries-old decisions now threaten millions. The geological trap is set, and the city is sinking. Can Mexico City find a way out, or will it keep slipping into the ground? Let's see how Shanghai is handling its own sinking crisis. Shanghai, China. A futuristic skyline, but a city with sinking foundations. Built on the soft Yangtze River Delta, Shanghai once sank up to 4 inches a year due to groundwater pumping. The city took bold action, banning groundwater extraction and recharging the aquifer with tap water. This slowed sinking in the city center to just millimeters per year, a rare success story. But the problem isn't gone. The weight of skyscrapers still compresses the soil, and new suburbs are now sinking. As a coastal city, Shanghai also faces rising sea levels and tidal flooding. Massive seawalls and floodgates now protect the city, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Shanghai's balancing act is high-tech and constant, monitoring ground levels, managing water, and reinforcing defenses. The city pulled back from disaster but must stay vigilant. The threat of sinking and flooding is always present. Shanghai's story shows that bold action can work, but the fight never ends. The city's future depends on constant innovation and adaptation. Will Shanghai remain a symbol of resilience, or will the sea reclaim its land? The answer is still unfolding. Now let's visit the world's most vulnerable megacity, Dhaka. The stakes there are even higher. Dhaka, Bangladesh, over 20 million people and perhaps the most vulnerable city on Earth. Built in the Ganges Delta, Dhaka is naturally flood-prone, but human activity has made things worse. Massive groundwater pumping is causing the land to sink about half an inch per year. Monsoon rains regularly flood the city, and sinking land makes drainage even harder. Floodwaters can linger for days, creating health crises in low-lying neighborhoods. Rising sea levels push salt water upstream, threatening freshwater supplies. Climate change is making monsoons and cyclones more intense, compounding the threat. The poorest residents are trapped in a cycle of flooding and sinking, with no escape. The government is working on drainage embankments and water management, but the challenge is enormous. How do you protect a city of 20 million in one of the world's most flood-prone countries? Dhaka's story is a stark warning: overpopulation, rapid growth, and climate change are converging here. The fate of Dhaka could be the future for many Delta cities worldwide. The world is watching. 7 cities, all sinking. This is a global crisis affecting millions. The cause is groundwater pumping, heavy buildings, and rising seas. The fight to save these cities is one of humanity's greatest challenges. It will take innovation, investment, and tough choices. Which city's story surprised you most? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more.